Florence Shirima. I am a health, wellness, and fitness consultant. Today, I would like to share with you how lifestyle affects our health. So let's get started. When we talk about lifestyle, we're basically talking about two kinds of lifestyle, and that's a healthy lifestyle and an unhealthy lifestyle. And based on these two different kinds of lifestyles, we have three criteria, and we're looking about nutrition. We'll be talking about physical activity as well as mental status of a person. These three criteria do contribute to whether a person has a healthy lifestyle or an unhealthy lifestyle. So let's get started. There are facts about the human body that we need to discuss today so that we can understand how our lifestyle, how our nutrition, our physical inactivity or activity, and our mental status can contribute to our health. So to present this, I'm going to give a very simple analogy of the human body. Say we have three different stations. We do have station A. In station A, this is the input station. And then we do have station X. In the station X, I'll call this station the optimum health station. Optimal health. And when I talk about optimal health, I don't mean, once in a while where you don't get to have a flu or cold, or you can go months without having cold. No, I'm talking about really being healthy, being in a state where your mental, physical, and emotional state is fit, and therefore we can say that you have optimal health. And finally, we have station B. Station B is the output station. So using this simple analogy today, we are going to understand how our lifestyle can affect our health. Now, the human body was designed that we take things known as food, nutrition, right? It gets processed and therefore give our bodies the nutrients that we need. And then whatever's left gets posted to station B, where it gets to leave our body. I'll repeat again. The human body was designed that we take in food. That's station A for the input, right? And then the food that we take gets posted to station X, where it gets processed and give us optimal health. Then whatever remains gets posted to section B, where's the output section. And here, whatever is left over gets taken away from our body. So once these three stations are working efficiently, then we can say that a person has optimal health or has a healthy lifestyle. So let's start with station A, with the input, and that is nutrition. Listening to a doctor, one of the famous doctors in America, he said, nowadays people starve on full stomachs. Interesting, right? Now, why is this? It's because we fill our bodies with a lot of food that has little to no nutritional content at all. And what our bodies need is basically nutrition. So we do give food that is not nutritious, and therefore, I would like to classify the things we take in two ways, that there is food and then there is nutrients. Our bodies need nutrients more than it needs food. But we do have a habit of serving our bodies with foods that have little to no nutrients at all, and therefore starve our bodies. So let's say you do take junk food, pizza, burgers, carbonated drinks, and so forth and so forth. and you take 100% of these junk foods. Once you take 100% of these junk foods, I can assure you that your body gets to benefit of about less than 1% of the junk food that you've taken. And so the rest of the 99% becomes useless. And therefore, you start starving on a full stomach because your stomach is full, but your body is literally craving for the nutrients that it needs so that you can have optimal health. And so what happens is when you give your body these types of food, your body will not reject. You will not vomit once you take these chunks of burgers and french fries. Your body will consume it. And then what will happen is that it will get posted to station X, where it gets processed so that your body can actually absorb the nutrients that it needs. So this 100% of junk food that you have just consumed gets posted to station X. Here at station X, your body requires a certain kind of fuel so that it can work, so that it can actually process the food that you've just taken to provide your body with nutrients. So what are these fuels? And what happens if station X fails to function properly? These fuels are vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, fibers, and so forth and so forth. Now, the fuel that the body needs for station X to work properly, very rarely is it found in junk food. What we find in junk food is lots and lots of amounts of proteins, carbohydrates, sugar that our body eventually fails to process so that we can have the appropriate nutrients we need. Now, why does our body fail to process this food? Because it lacks the appropriate nutrients. And that is why, way back then, ages before, a balanced diet included vegetables and fruits. But today, what we have for dessert is bunches of chocolates and chocolate chip cookies, which are, when you come to look into it, body to actually process the food that we've just taken. The fuels that I've just talked about, these vitamins, these minerals, fibers, and phytonutrients, are abundantly found in green vegetables, non-green vegetables, and fruits. But today, we rarely have a habit of consuming fruits and vegetables. So now what happens? What happens when our body takes this 100% of junk food is that station X fails to function. And so it either doesn't process the food fully, or it works inefficiently, that the food gets processed and the rest of the food is not processed. And so we walk in bodies filled with undigested foods. Now, when these undigested foods stay for a certain period of time, they become toxins. A simple analogy of this is, if you take a banana and you blend it, and you leave the blended banana for a certain period of time, it's natural for that banana to start fermentation process. And so what happens is, after a few days, you will find that the banana gets rotten, and then it becomes alcohol. But would you eat that banana that's blended? No. Why? Because it won't taste nice and it won't even smell nice. It's basically a spoiled blended banana. And so that is what happens when we consume these lots of junk food and then not give our bodies the appropriate nutrients, the fuels for station X to optimally work. And so we end up having lots of undigested foods in our bodies, which later become toxins. So when station X fails to function properly, our body will get less than 1% of the food that we've just taken. And so the rest gets posted to station B, the output station. So whatever we took in as nutrition gets posted to station X, where it gets processed and then gives your body the right amount of nutrients so that you can have optimal health. And then whatever's left gets posted to section B. And here, it gets exited from your body. Just as the way you would provide your car with petrol or diesel or gas, but later it gets processed in the engines and other parts of the car, and then afterwards, whatever's left gets exited out of the car through the exhaust fumes, right? So it is the same with our bodies. So our bodies were designed to have an exit system, the system of output. That is our kidneys, the liver, our skin. All this acts as a system in which our bodies can take away the toxins so that these toxins do not accumulate in our bodies and in the long run produce diseases. But if this is the perfect system of the human body, what is happening today? Why is it that we have all these sorts of non-communicable disease, diabetes, heart diseases, cancer, hypertension? Why is it that the world is now suffering an epidemic of non-communicable diseases? Is it simply because of the inefficient working of Station A? Not really. Because if Station A was not working efficiently, but Station B was working perfectly, then all the toxins would have been exited from our body and we would be disease-free. However, Station A has a problem. It doesn't get the right foods, the right amount of nutrition that we need. And so the rest of the food that we take becomes toxins in our bodies. When it gets posted to Station B becomes overloaded with these toxins. And so it doesn't get to work efficiently. And therefore, if what's posted to Station B, say, is 98% of the toxins in our bodies, and this is the optimal amount of toxins that our body usually takes out. So Station B can actually work with just 98% of the toxins in our bodies. But what if we fill our bodies with over 1,000% of toxins? And yes, you would say I am quite exaggerating the difference, right? But no, once we get to the sources of toxins that we expose our bodies to, then you'll understand that we actually add another load of 1,000% of toxins to our bodies. And therefore, what happens with Station B is that it gets overloaded. Now, when Station B gets overloaded, out of 1,000%, Station B will only take out 98%. So what happens to the rest of the toxins? They get accumulated in our bodies. Yes. And once they get accumulated to our bodies, they change the systems of how our bodies works and later produce diseases such as cancer, heart diseases, diabetes, allergies. Yes, allergies. Let me put a word into this. We usually have a tendency of ignoring allergies as just flu or just a skin rash. But what an allergy is that it's a serious malfunction of the immune system. Almost like what HIV/AIDS is. Yes, you won't believe that I am now comparing allergies with HIV/AIDS. What's happening in both of these diseases is that the immune system is highly compromised. And so even a little bit, just a little bit of exposure to bacteria or infection, your body gets thrown off balance and therefore you experience the symptoms that you have. So diseases like allergies, all sorts of allergies, can actually be corrected once you remove the toxins and enable Station B to work properly and efficiently. Back to my list. Hypertension. And all other sorts of non-communicable diseases that are now an epidemic to the world. So you'd say, Florence, can you now please tell me where do we get this additional 1000% of the toxins that we usually expose our bodies to? Good, let's get to the list of these sources of toxins that we constantly expose our bodies to. The number one toxin is the foods that we take. Yes, the foods that we take, the drinks that we drink. And I'm talking about all sorts of processed food. If the food that you're taking is not in its natural form, in its organic natural form, the way that it's supposed to be, then that means it's processed. And for a food to be processed, that means it gets added chemicals inside so that to add flavor, to have more shelf life, yes, the shelf on the supermarkets, and so that it can just appear pleasing to you. It's basically business. So for business to go, all sorts of processed foods are toxins to your body. And these processed foods later become the core causes of these diseases. Next, carbonated drinks. Yes, carbonated drinks. Alcohol. All sorts of alcohol really don't give your body any benefits. What happens is that you fill station A with 100% of food that has little to no nutritional content at all. And so the rest of it just becomes toxin in your body. Another big source of toxins lies in our personal care products. I'm talking about the soap, I'm talking about your shower gel, the shampoo you use, the conditioner you use, types of deodorants you use, the perfumes, and so forth and so forth. These products are usually filled with chemicals and molecules that when used and exposed to the human body in the long run become the perfect cultivated environment for these diseases to get accumulated in your body. Yes, these deodorants, these perfumes, soaps, shampoos, aftershave creams do have chemicals and molecules that even act as carcinogens. Now, carcinogens are simply chemicals or molecules that do act as factors for cancer. I think it's time now you should go to your bathroom and carefully go through the products that you use. Another source is pesticides. So you'll say, Florence, I do not take any sorts of processed food. Great, I mean that's amazing. But do you know that the green vegetables and the fruits that you take, that you are very sure of, that are organic, aren't really organic? The only way you'd be sure that your food is organic is if you planted it on your own, harvested it from the tree on your own, and ate it right there and then. Other than that, everything that you take from that shelf from the supermarket is literally processed. Now you would say, no, it is not. And I would say, yes, it is. Let's get down to the details. The fertilizers that they use are the types of fertilizers that genetically change the plant to be resistant to all sorts of infections and bacteria and mold. That way, the plant or the fruit becomes way resistant, therefore enabling it to be well harvested by the time it's time to get harvested. And then you'll say, but when it reaches to my table, it's pretty green and it's fine. I will challenge you. Could you please put a vegetable garden or a fruit garden or a little farm at your backyard so that you can do this process on your own. Farm your own food, then you'll understand that it is not as easy as it seems. So they usually put the types of fertilizers and manure that are inorganic, forcing the plant and genetically mutating the plant to become resistant to diseases, infections, and bacteria. Now, what happens is that the plant or that particular fruit does not get to choose what it absorbs from the soil. And so it does take even the chemicals from the pesticides and from the fertilizers. And therefore, what you end up taking is just the pesticides put inside the fruit. And so once you consume your green vegetables and your fruits, you're simply consuming the pesticides in a form of an apple. You're simply consuming the fertilizers, the inorganic fertilizers, in the form of a banana, in the form of your green vegetables. And so, yes, even the green vegetables that you take, unless you farmed them on your own in a proper organic natural manner, then you are consuming toxins. Another list. Our very so much polluted environment. Industrial age came to the human race as this amazing discovery that was about to make our life easy. And yes, it did. Because now I can just get a car, run from one station to another. It really did make our life easier. However, it left us with a lot of chances for diseases. Why? Because the fumes that these cars, these industries let off into the air, our body doesn't get to choose. Our noses don't get to choose to separate oxygen from all sorts of chemicals that are mixed together in the air. And so we breathe and absorb these chemicals. And in the long run, this happens. By the way, who doesn't like to live in the city? Life is easy here. Everything is easy here. If I were to ask you to simply move to the countryside or move to a rural area simply because the air is fresh, you would look at me like I'm crazy. And by the way, it's pretty unrealistic, right? So yes, we do live in an environment that is very, very much polluted. So now what do? Hang on with me. As soon as I'm done with this list, we can get to the solutions of what we can do. The next online is the UV light from the sun. The UV light, the UV sun rays from the sun. Yes, I've seen this. I'm almost exhausted everything. Or maybe we should just move away from Earth, right? Would kind of make sense. But here's the thing. At one point or another, you've heard about the UN talking about this ozone layer thing that's been happening. That what's happening is that now the ozone layer has actually been distracted. And so what once stood as a filter to filter the sun rays from the sun is no longer there. And so we actually get these sun rays that are direct from the sun, which affect our bodies. And yes, it is no joke. The sun rays have known to contain carcinogens, which have now become the biggest cause of skin cancer. What's happening? Should we leave Earth? Maybe we should. Or maybe we should simply detoxify our bodies. Next, all the cleaning products we have in our homes. At some point or another, you've used some air freshener, you've used some scrubbing detergent to make sure that your bathroom or your floor, your house is clean. But what you and I both have in common is that at one point or another, these detergents have irritated us. Could you just simply take a bottle of detergent and breathe in the air? You would feel some sort of irritation, right? Yes, those are the fumes acting as foreign substances to our bodies. And our bodies literally literally do reject them. Now, assume having to breathe or absorb these toxins that come from all sorts of cleaning products we have in our homes over a long period of time. What's in there is simply, again, chemicals and molecules that do act as factors for these diseases. And once our bodies get exposed to them, what happens is that when these chemicals get into our bodies, literally change the structure of how our system works, and therefore make us very susceptible to diseases and infections. And lastly, mental status. Yes, our mental status. We live in a world where almost everyone is depressed and stressed about something. It is almost normal for you to walk down the streets on a Monday morning and not see a single person smile. And if you were to see them smile, you'd simply ask, why are you smiling? If they were to say for no reason, you would think they're crazy. We live in a world where being happy or being joyful is something to be questioned about, because stress has now become something very common. We do not think of it as a factor for diseases. What happens when your body is stressed is that it releases a certain amount of chemicals. These chemicals are naturally formed in your body. So you would say, why would they cause harm? They do cause harm because they get constantly over a long period of time produced in your body. So what happens is that instead of serving the purpose, they actually turn and become toxins, because they can only work for good for only a certain period of time. When these toxins get produced over and over in your body, when these chemicals get produced over and over in your body, they actually turn out to be toxins. And so you'd say, Florence, what am I supposed to do? Well, create habits that are going to help you with your mental state. In addition to this is physical inactivity. We live in a world nowadays where everything has been made easier for us. If you want to buy something, you don't have to walk down to the grocery store. Just get your phone and buy it online. If you need to go somewhere, you don't need to work. Get in your car and you can get there. If you need to walk up a building, well, why walk? Get on an escalator or get on an elevator and get there. But this physical inactivity has now become the death of us. Why? Because the more you don't put your body to work, the more Station X becomes very, it loses its functions. You know the saying, if you don't use something, you lose it? Same applies to our bodies. When Station X doesn't function, when you don't move your muscles and force your muscles to use whatever fat, whatever proteins you've just taken from the junks of food that you just had, the deposition of these foods later become toxins. Say your body can only deposit 10% of protein, 20% of fat, and say maybe 30% of carbohydrates. Now, these are not exact numbers. These are just numbers I'm using for example. So here we have proteins, here we have fats, and here we have carbohydrates. But the amount of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates we take from our diet are way, way higher than this. And so if you don't force your body to work so that you can literally convert whatever it is that's deposited in your body from the amount of junk food that you've just taken, it literally becomes toxin, and therefore a catalyst for these diseases. So physical inactivity can bring you diseases such as diabetes, cancer, heart disease, hypertension, and so forth and so forth.
So what can you say about the drugs that are being administered from hospitals and other places?
Very good. Thank you for the question. So now let's talk about these drugs. When you have a headache, the first thing you think of is, where is my aspirin? Where is my paracetamol? And that's the wrong way to go about it. The first thing you should ask yourself is, why am I having this headache? All these so-called diseases that we experience are simply symptoms, are simply alert systems going off in our body telling us that something is wrong, that either station A is not functioning properly, station X, or station B. And so what we usually do when we take these drugs is not going to correct station A, X, or B, but rather just kill away the symptom. What we do is that we take a Band-Aid and we cover the symptom and then say, ha, I am healed. But are you really? Now let's get down to a very simple example. If you do not take enough water, section A, input, right? If you do not give your body enough water, what will happen? Very little amount of water will be used as a fuel to produce you optimal health. What will happen next is that you start to experience symptoms of dehydration, headache, dizziness, and so forth and so forth. And so what you will do first, instead of drinking water, that means correcting the real cause of the problem, filling station A with clean organic water, all you do is cancel off the headache. What you're doing is putting a hand on the mouth of that little girl or little boy that's screaming, Mom or Dad, there's fire in the house. So what you're doing is literally saying no to the headache, but you leave your body dehydrated. And by the way, these drugs are foreign substances, and any foreign substances causes reactions in our bodies. I'll give you a simple analogy. Say you're in your home, just rested at night, and then all of a sudden a stranger just comes in. Would you be comfortable to let your stranger in? And by the way, they didn't even come through the door. Say they broke in through a window. Would you be comfortable? Of course not. Next thing is you grab your gun, a knife, or whatever weapon that's around to protect yourself. That's the same thing that happens with our bodies. When you take in these drugs, which all of them are synthetic. When I say synthetic, I mean they're not organic. I mean the chemicals that are found in these drugs are not the same chemicals that are found in our bodies, are not the same chemicals that are found in our enzymes, the same chemicals that go through our blood. So these drugs do act as foreign substance. Now, the protection system, the security system in our body is the immune system. Just as the way you would freak out when a stranger entered your house at night, so is the same way the immune system gets freaked out when we take drugs. Yes, when you take that single pill of aspirin, you force your immune system to work against your body. And in the end, over a very long period of time, you throw your immune system off balance, and therefore, once your immune system is off balance, that's one. Once your immune system is off balance, you continuously feed your body with the wrong types of food and expose your body constantly to toxins. When these three factors come together, diseases is a result. And once this, those same drugs that will again start the whole cycle. So drugs are not really a solution to the so-called diseases. The real solution is to correct what's going on in station A, station X, and station B. So with that being said, let's now see how can we correct and make these 3 stations work efficiently.
Something about sugar. Is it toxic as well or what? Because people have been consuming a lot of sugar on a daily basis, and probably they're not aware what is damage they're getting in their body. Can you share something on that?
Very well. Now, actually, I will share 4 things because sugar is one of the big 4 toxic foods that we've been consuming. So there is sugar, there is white flour, there is processed oils, yes. Okay, so let's start with sugar. Your body, as I said, can only process a certain amount of sugar per day. And this happens because your body produces a certain amount of chemicals, worldly known and commonly known as insulin, that processes this sugar. But only when given at a certain amount, the amount that the body considers optimal. Now, today we consume up to 200 pounds of sugar per day. Now you would say, there is no way I consume up to 200 pounds. Yes. Let's do a simple math calculation. You started your day with coffee, right? Great way to start your day. And you added sugar, because come on, who likes to drink coffee without sugar? You added cream. Inside cream is sugar. Then you went through with your day. Somewhere in the afternoon, you had a carbonated drink. And there are a lot of those, so there's no need to put names out there. So you say, let me rush get a soda. Let me rush downstairs and just get an energy boost drink, which inside of them contain lots and a lots amount of sugar. And then you went through lunch and you're thinking, I don't want to eat something savory today, so I'm just gonna have an ice cream. Say a bowl of ice cream with scoops of chocolate and whatnot all put together, which again contain lots and lots of sugar. And then later you went for lunch and you had a burger or a pizza plus a glass of carbonated drink, which again has lots and lots of sugar. And that, in addition to that, you had dinner with dessert, which both have lots and lots of sugar. And you do this for over 10 years. What's going to happen? Now let's see what happens to our body when we consume sugar. Say our body can only consume, say 10 to 50% of sugar per day. But what you take in that carbonated drink, just that one soda or coolant or whatever it is that you enjoy to take, contains more than 12 spoons of sugar. And this is the minimum amount of spoons that scientists have come to state that is present in these carbonated drinks. And so what you're doing is that you're filling with your body. Remember, what your body can take is 10 to 50%. You're filling your body with more than 200% of sugar. Anything that's foreign to the body activates the immune system to work. And so, with that simple lick of an ice cream, you throw off balance your immune system. You create chaos. Why are you creating chaos? Because what you've just done is that you've taken large amounts of sugars into your body. And now your body is trying to keep the balance. When that sugar comes posted to station X, what your body does is that it doesn't try to go crazy. And by doing so, it forces itself to process this 200% of sugar that you just had for breakfast, leave alone lunch, dinner, and meat brunches and snacks along the day. Once it gets posted here, the immune system literally goes crazy, trying to take away this foreign substance that you've just taken for breakfast. Yes, the donut that you've just had for breakfast. And so what happens when your immune system gets thrown away? Basically, the defense of your body is low. That's one. Your defense is way low, making you susceptible to diseases. Second, what happens is, when all that sugar and where it goes, it becomes an accumulated toxin. And like I said, what these toxins do is that they go to cells and they mutate and genetically mutate these cells and make them to not function properly. And therefore, you do have cells in your body, a lot, trillions of them, that are not functioning properly because of the amount of sugars that you just consumed for one meal alone. It is said, and when I say it is said, I mean scientists did a research on this, that two spoons of sugar that you add in your tea or coffee or whatnot throws off your immune system and puts your whole body out of balance for up to 7 hours by 50%. Did you ever wonder if the function of food is to provide you with energy so that you can actually work well and function efficiently? Why is it that after you've had breakfast, the next thing you're thinking about is going to bed? Why do you feel sleepy right after breakfast? What happened to that food? Where is the energy that you just consumed so that your body can work right? Exactly my point. You did not give your body the right amount of food that will get you the energy you need to work. What you've just provided your body with is simply chaos. So we have an immune system that's actually not working for 7 hours by 50%. And we have cells that are now being attacked by this foreign substance, and therefore they will not function well. What's next? The next thing is, there you are feeling dizzy. Why? There is no enough oxygen in your blood to make you function properly. There is no enough oxygen going in your brain to make you function properly. All because of what you had for breakfast. Sugar is toxic. And what do? Parents out there, we hide alcohol, we hide cigarettes, and we leave sugar there for the kids. So a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old child gets accustomed to this toxin for more than 20, 25, up to 30 years of their lives. Now you tell me, why shouldn't your son or your daughter be a cancer patient, a diabetes patient, have heart diseases, or hypertension, or allergies? Why? If this is what you've been feeding them for over 18 years of their lives, why shouldn't you have cancer if this is what you've been feeding your body with for over 20, 30 years of your life? So yes, we have sugar. And then we have white flour. This is what you find in your pasta, in all baked goods. Yes, the donuts, the chapatis, the cakes, the cupcakes, and so forth and so forth. And we say this is a very good source of starch in our body because it's filled with carbohydrates, right? Yes, it is true. It is filled with carbohydrates. But as I said earlier, filled with carbohydrates, but zero, absolutely zero amount of fuels. No vitamins, no phytonutrients, no fibers, no enzymes, no nothing. It's like you're forcing, it's like you do not have teeth or a proper functioning mouth, but then you just put a chunk of food in your body and you're forcing your body to chew it and swallow it. That's what we do when we take white flour. It's just lots of starch that our body cannot process or do anything with it. And so what happens is that it ends up become a toxic that later is a factor for these diseases. On to the next, processed oils. Yes, the canolas, the things we find in ketchup and mayonnaise, all sorts of cooking oils that are out there. Fried chicken tastes nice, right? Good, but it's toxic. And why are these toxins? Our bodies do need a certain amount of oils and fats. And by the way, let me clear this. Nowadays, the world is going crazy talking about, no, we need low fats and we need no oil diets. No, your body needs fats and it needs oils. However, it needs the right amount of fats and oils. These fats and oils do play a very great part for the functioning of your heart, your brain, your vision. Yes, they do. But not these oils, not the corn oil that's usually on the shelves of our supermarket, not any type of oil that you would take from fried fruit, from fried foods. This oil, the processed oils, literally what they do is that they get accumulated in your blood vessels, making it impossible for your blood to flow. The next thing is you're having heart diseases because all your veins and blood capillaries and arteries are all clogged and blocked by these oils. And yes, butter, blueband, ghee, margarine, and so forth and so forth. All these things that we love to put in our food, thinking that this is the right types of oil that our body needs, literally do get us killed. And therefore, do become a factor for diseases. Now, in the beginning, I said there are 4 big toxins. I reserved this one for a special moment. The first one is sugar, white flour. The third one is processed oil. And the fourth one is, please, gather yourself, milk. Yes, milk. And the kind of milk I'm talking about is cow milk. Now you think, no way. That's the biggest source of protein and calcium that I need in my body. So why are you saying that cow milk is not good for me? Can you please explain this to me? Would it make sense if we were to take elephant milk and feed it to the dogs and expect those dogs to grow? Would it make sense? Would you do that? No. Would you go and take zebra milk and feed it to cats and expect cats to grow? Crazy idea. But it doesn't seem so crazy once we take cow milk and feed it to our bodies and expect to give us the nutrients that we need. Now you'll say, Florence, are you trying to tell me that cow milk has no calcium or protein? No, it does have calcium and protein needed for cows, not human being. The human body cannot process the types of protein that's present in cow milk. How many of you are lactose intolerant? How many of you would drink milk and literally just have your stomach bloated and have gas and have diarrhea? Now you'd say that's only a few population of the world. It's true. Maybe because your immune system is so good, that's why you're not experiencing the same effects that some are experiencing. But it does to you just the same damage as it does to all those people who have lactose intolerant. Your body cannot digest the protein. The body cannot take the calcium that's present in cow milk for you to use, for your bones. And so what happens is that you will fill your body with this cow milk that has chunks of proteins, that has chunks of fats that the body cannot process. And then in your mind, you're thinking you're filling your body with calcium, but rather you're just depleting it of calcium. Why? Because calcium is one of the mineral fuels that the body needs to digest and process foods. So once you take in this large amount of protein, what your body does is that it goes and knocks to the bones and say, please, can I have calcium? And so it takes all sorts of calcium from other sources, your bones to be specific, so that it can digest the same source of calcium that you just took. And in the end, you would reach 60 and start having back pains. You would reach 50 and start having knee pains. And what we have nowadays is this epidemic disease called arthritis, where 30-year-olds have arthritis, where 20-year-olds cannot walk up a stair without having their ankle injured or bruised. Why? Because they've been consuming milk for over 10 to 15 years, and what the body does is that it goes and takes calcium from your bones so that it can digest the milk that you just took. And therefore your bones are left without calcium. How are they supposed to survive? Well, calcium is the food for the bones. It's what makes the bones strong. And so here you are at 40 years old with arthritis and back pains and endless joint pains. And when that happens, what do? You go for the drugs. And what happens when you take the drugs? Your immune system gets thrown off. And then what happens when your immune system gets thrown off? Now you have arthritis, and now you have allergies because you can't walk outside where there's just normal dust without you getting flu and cold and sore throat. And it's just a cycle of diseases and wrong choices and diseases and wrong choices. Now, I know what's going on in your head. Florence, where do I get calcium? Where do I get this protein? In the right amount of food. Now, is there any question before I go into correcting these three systems so that we can have optimal health? If there are no
Yeah, I think maybe what you can help us and what people can do now to make sure they reduce all the impact of toxins in their body.
Yes,
Yep.
Great. So, with station A, like I say, this is the input station. In here, what's usually put here is food. And so take the proper nutrition. Take the right amount of food, the right kind of food. Now, I've said before that even for those who are organic people, they go green. All they do is eat green vegetables. I've stated that the same green vegetables are made in a very toxic environment. And so what you do is basically taking in toxins in form of minerals and whatnot, so your body absorbs them. So now what? Instead, or in addition to the organic food that you take, please do take supplements. Do take vitamin supplements. Do take the right oil, not the processed oil, the right kinds of oil and fats that are present in some of supplements. Do take the right amount of sugar. Now you'd say, which one are those? I'm talking about natural sugar found in wild fruits. Here, do take the right kinds of food. Once you do take the right kinds of food, I mean nutrition, green vegetables, right amount of proteins, right amount of starch, right amount of fats, and the right kinds as well, they will go from station A to station X. Now, as I said earlier, for station X to function, it needs fuels. These fuels are fiber, these fuels are vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, enzymes, and so forth and so forth. Where do we get this? In supplements. Why? Because there are no longer the right amount of foods that contain this. I would literally challenge you to do this. You're a gentleman or a lady that's working a 3 to 5 job, a 9 to 5 job, right? Where would you get the time to actually farm your own food and cook it in the right amount of heat and prepare it in a way that your body needs so that it can produce you the optimal health that you so desperately require? You cannot. The kind of environment that we live nowadays does not allow us to have that uncivilized kind of lifestyle. We are a very civilized society. And so what happens is, to supplement what's deficient in our diets, we therefore take the supplements that are filled with these right fuels that our body needs so that station X can work properly. When station X works properly, the rest of it comes here. Now here is the problem with station B. Why? Because station B is overloaded with all these toxins. You could have the right amount of food. You could have all sorts of enzymes and fibers and so forth that your body needs. But what are you going to do when all that's filled in your body are toxins? You detoxify. Learn to detoxify your body. Learn to take away the toxins that are already in your body and make it a habit to do so. Because as long as you're living on earth, you're going to use cleaning products. As long as you're living on earth, you're going to be exposed to sunrise, the sun rays. As long as you're living on earth, you are going to be exposed to a very polluted environment. And therefore, you're constantly exposed to these toxins. It is not a one-time thing. Create a habit of doing it all the time. And so, once you have detoxified your body, taken away the toxins, put your immune system at the right place, now make it a habit to feed your body with the right nutrients, which are mostly and accurately found in supplements.
Okay, so what can you say, because of the time, we have this thing coming on Sunday, it's the health talk. For especially people who are based in Dar es Salaam, what can you say if they want to learn more? Should they come for your health talk on Sunday? What can you say about it?
Yes, very well. Thank you. So I would like to welcome you all, because this is just a part, and as you can see, the body's filled, but there is a lot of information that's yet to be given to you. So I would love to welcome you all this Sunday at Townhouse Victoria at 4 p.m. Please do keep time. It will be a dinner health talk. So we're going to talk health, wellness and fitness, and then we are going to commune together during this dinner time. So to have your seat and plate reserved, please, you'll be given the number. Check that number, make sure you pay. It is only 10,000 Tanzanian shillings. Once you pay, you will have your seat and your plate reserved. With that being said, I'd love to welcome you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Florence. That was a short talk about how lifestyle affects our health, and she has covered it intensively. And as she said, if you want to know more about it, you are welcome on Sunday for our health talk. I have sent you a number on the screen. For some of you in there and you're online, you can see the number on the screen. I just find a way how you can pay your 10,000, and then you will be able to see Florence live plus other guys. Thank you very much. It was nice having you guys. I wish you all the best and have a lovely afternoon.